Hey, what's up? I'm Joel.
I'm Benji.
We are from the band Good Charlotte, and you are watching Loud TV.
I think the reason that we decided to do this one by ourselves was I feel like in order to be really as honest as we wanted to be, we really needed to kind of do it behind closed doors and not really have too much kind of going in, really just not have it be overthought, and really just focus on the lyrics and making it real, you know?
Yes. Yeah, it was a little more personal because it was just us and we didn't have anyone, you know. I think sometimes when there's more people involved in the artistic process, there can be like second guessing, and I think this album was very true to us, and the process was very just personal, and so it was in a lot of ways probably the easiest record and the hardest record we've ever made because we couldn't second guess ourselves because we were committed to just doing it. But also, we were free to do whatever we wanted.
Yeah, we just wanted it to happen naturally. You know, we didn't want to overthink it. We just let the songs come when they did, and we tried not to overthink it. It wasn't about singles or, wasn't thinking about the radio, wasn't thinking about anything other than just being honest.
Yeah.
So Zach co-produced the record with me, and we've worked with him before, and he's just... he's a really special guy, just really allows you to be, creative and honest, and he's a young guy, so...
Yeah, I think he brought a little bit of a modern approach to making the record, and it was really just the three of us at the beginning before the band came in and started working on their parts. When we were creating and writing the album, it was just the three of us. Well, the way we work on this record, the way we worked was really kind of, we were open to just the songwriting and the lyrics. Were really just kind of stream of consciousness, and so Benj would come up with a riff, or Zach would come up with something, and we'd all sit down, and then I was allowed to kind of go in and just really just let whatever come out. So it was a very organic and real process.
Yeah.
We don't always agree.
Yeah, we don't always agree. For the most part, though, I think we just push each other in the right ways. But on this record, we were kind of we tried to stay out of each other's way. So, he would jump in and do something that he felt, and I'd come back later that day or the next day, and I would kind of add my feeling to it. And
we work together and alone a lot. Yeah, we have a special relationship. I think we trust each other and we understand what each other are trying to say. And I think there were a lot of times where I would go in alone and work on a song and just leave it without even telling him, and then he would come in and hear it and he would finish it, and then I would come in and listen and it would be done. And so it worked a lot like that.
I think it's the advantage of being so close and being twins, brothers, are growing up our whole life together. We definitely work in a way probably different than most people work, just from so many years together, and we are really close. So I think we used to fight a lot. As we've gotten older, though, we've learned how to communicate. We've learned how to talk, and we really don't fight anymore. Yeah, I think the record's a bit darker. I think it's a more straight ahead rock record. I think it's the most rock record we've ever made, to be honest. And yeah, the mood's a bit darker, but it's also hopeful too. I think there's elements of this record that are more hopeful than any record we've ever made, but also more painful. So yeah, I really like the juxtaposition. I think that it's unique. This record's unique to itself in our catalog. I think this record really stands out.
Yeah, and I think I was open to just not confining myself to any one way of singing. So each song needed something different. So there's like I scream on this record, and I don't really do that. I haven't done that in the past. And there's just more. It's a bit more vocally. It's a little more adventurous than I think I've done in the past. Being open to expressing myself vocally in different ways and exploring things and having fun vocally, that little things that feel good, and like being okay with leaving them. And sometimes you would try something when we were writing a song, and then we would go back to maybe how we would normally do it, and it just didn't sound the same. And so I think being open to trying new things was definitely a part of this record, with no rules and just kind of doing whatever it took to whatever the song needed. Yeah, so RX, meaning prescription, is kind of the idea that we're in this big, kind of like, when you think of generations, like back in the day, you could really define generations by things. And so you could say like baby boomers or Generation X. And now we're just in this big group, I feel like, of people our age all the way down to like 14 who are not really defined. Even the word millennials doesn't really cover it really truly, you know? But it does feel like we're living in a time where we're prescribed all kinds of things to pacify feelings and dealing with our own realities. And that's kind of what the RX for us stands for. Is, yeah, there's the opioid crisis, but there's all kinds of things that we lose ourselves in, and we escape our reality and the pain we live in, with like all different kinds of obsessions. Overtly a much bigger problem in America than anywhere else. Obviously, we deal with it all over the world, but in America it is really kind of in our faces, because I think it was, I don't know if it originated in America. It feels like it did, but the life expectancy for people in America is going down. You know, and there's not a family in our country that hasn't been affected by the opioid crisis. So when you think about that, it's pretty...
It's one of the most blatant and huge examples of people just numbing the pain, you know?
And kind of removing the humanity from a lot of our problems today. You know, when you look at America, I can only imagine what it must be like to watch from the outside. But from the inside, it's just confusion, and it's just a bunch of people yelling at each other. That's what it feels like. It feels very confused. No one trusts anyone. Everything feels like a lie. And everybody kind of jumps on waves, you know? And I look at it and I kind of go, we live in this time where everyone's angry and confused. No one has an answer, and we've removed the human out of it. We've removed the idea that on every side of every argument there's real people living real lives, dealing with real problems, dealing with real pain. And to me, at the root of all problems is a lack of empathy. And so when I can't feel you and you can't feel me, how can we ever come to understand each other? How can I know what it feels like to be you? And that's the question we ask a lot on this record is what does it feel like to be you? What does it feel like to be me? Where does this pain come from? And are we asking the right questions? And when you look at any problem in America, like you look at the opioid crisis, and where did it start from? Well, it's at the root of it. It is big business, and it's pushing, making money. And so, in order to do that and live with yourself, you have to remove the humanity out of the people who are suffering, and I think that's at the root of all of our problems is a lack of empathy.
So who's to blame?
Who is to blame? I don't know. We're all to blame. I think we're all contributing members of the societies we live in, and so, but none of us want to take the blame.
More of a conversation than anything.
Yeah, I don't think any of us want to feel responsible for each other, and I don't think anyone wants to feel responsible. Another question on this record we ask is about religion. With songs like Better Demons and Prayers. Kind of just asking the question of like, do you really believe in God? If you can't see the person across the street from you,
Regardless of their sexuality or whether gender they identify with. Or
if you can't see them and you can't feel them and you don't try to understand what it feels like to be them, and you don't love them and you don't accept them, then are you really
religious?
a religious person? Are you really a person of faith? Because isn't that the core of all faith, is to love your neighbor as yourself? And like that idea, I've always thought about that, and I've grew up in a very religious place around a lot of religious people, and I've always struggled with that idea of like, well, who are the religious people really? Is it you? Because I know you say you're religious and you have faith, and I want to believe you, and I'm certainly not telling you who
But
you
you
are.
seem to hate that person.
But why does it feel like you hate someone? And it's a good question, like, is there empathy? I always go back to that, like, do you really try to feel what that person's going through, and like, and how will it affect your life if you allow that person to be? Just be. Just what if we all just let each other be? So I think that Good Charlotte, we've always kind of given a commentary on the world as we see it in the times that we've made our records. And we just made this record at a very interesting time. And I think it inspired us to give our take on it. And our take doesn't happen to be very political. Our take kind of goes back to the root of the human experience that each individual is going through. And so how could I hate anyone? I just don't hate anyone. And I don't want anyone to change what they believe for themselves. I just don't. I want them to love themselves, and I want them to take care of themselves. And I also want them to let other people do the same thing. I feel like everyone deserves the right to have their own experience in their own life, and to feel how they feel, and to go through this life and get out of it what they're meant to get out of it. So it's interesting. This record, we made it at, I think it's just a snapshot of who we are in this moment in the world.
Next tours are going to be the biggest production we've brought. They're going to be really exciting shows. I mean, we'll play a really good mix from all of our records, but you can definitely expect to hear some of the new music. And
we want to try to bring the record to life, from the artwork to the songs, and we want to try to create an experience for the people at the show that hopefully they can kind of immerse themselves in. And we want to try to create moments in the show that we haven't done. And at this stage, because we don't tour a lot, we want to make everything feel like special, and it's a one-off, so that it doesn't feel like we've been repeating the same show. So we're working on that. I'm excited for the tour.